Today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite consoles of all time, the Nintendo Game Boy Advance. I feel like this system is actually very underrated, and I think you guys should all give it a try if you're not already. I just want to show you some of my hardware today. Mostly I want to be talking about the games though in this video. If you look over here, we've got some of the consoles. We've got the original type, which is more of the horizontal layout. We got a purple one, Glacier. They later went into the Game Boy Advance SP. Here we got a 001. Here we got another 001. These came in all sorts of really cool colorations. They later revised that and went with the Game Boy Advance SP 101, which you got a pink and a blue. We've even got the Nintendo GameCube adapter, which is called the Game Boy Player, and we got the boot up disc for that. But like I said earlier, I want to mainly focus on the games, so let's talk about that. So here we go. This is most of the games that I wanted to talk about today. It's not a whole tremendous amount of games, but these are the ones that my wife and I actually really enjoy. We had probably well over 100 Game Boy Advance games about a year ago. We ended up selling most of them off. We weren't really playing them. There were a lot of common games and we just didn't really have room to display them or time to enjoy them, so we decided to let somebody else have their fun with them. But here's what we got for today. In this back row here, we've got the original box that you would have purchased it in at Walmart or GameStop or wherever. Here we got Golden Sun. This was a gift to me from my wife. That's a complete in box with the map and everything. But basically these boxes are just made out of cardboard. Here we got Super Mario Brothers. So these are just cardboard, kind of like the Super Nintendo, N64, Nintendo. Nothing too fancy. These boxes don't really hold up too well over time. So mostly when you're buying these, whether it's from GameStop online or in a store, you're going to be getting loose cartridges. Don't get me wrong, sometimes you will find them complete in box, but even if you do find them complete in box like this one, it's not very easy to open the box up and slide the little insert out of here to get your cartridge out. Here you can see what I mean. There's like a little cardboard tray in here. Here's some paperwork. The game would actually sit right in this recessed area. It doesn't really make for a speedy video game session, and also if you want to keep your nice boxes in good condition, it's not the best thing. So what my wife's been able to do for us is to take Nintendo DS cases. In this particular one, this is a reproduction Nintendo DS case off of the internet. We probably got this on Amazon. If you open it up here, it's got a spot for a manual. It's got a spot for a DS game, but up here you can also put in a Game Boy Advance game. And it clicks in there really nice. So the cool thing about this, you put your game in there, close it up, you have some artwork on the outside, it's on the spine, it's on the back, and once you put it onto your shelf you can display it and see the spine. If you look at the artwork from these two cases here, here's the original. Here's the one that my wife has made. There's the spine. And here's the back artwork. Pretty cool, right? So in order to do this replication, we go to the coverproject.net, I believe. The coverproject.net has all sorts of video game artwork for almost any console that you can think of. You can go on there and print off this cool looking artwork specifically for a Nintendo DS case. So figured I'd address that before everybody's saying, hey, how'd you get all those cool looking cases? Anyways, as far as the games go, I just kind of wanted to show some of the games that we enjoy as a family being able to play some more. Starting off, you got Disney's Aladdin. almost every Disney game that's made by Capcom, regardless of the platform that it's on, the console I should say, it's going to be a pretty solid game. This one's no exception. It's a good side scroller. After that Aladdin, we get into my favorite games of all time, the Castlevania games. We've got Castlevania Aria of Sorrow, which I've beaten recently. That is a Metroidvania style game similar to the Castlevania for PlayStation 1. If you've ever played that, Symphony of the Night, this is going to be right up your alley. After that, we've got the classic NES series, which there was a small release of those on the Game Boy Advance. This is the original 8-bit Castlevania OG game. If you guys liked it on the 8-bit, this is the way to play it on a handheld console. After that, we've got another Castlevania, Circle of Moon. That's going to be another Metroidvania-style Castlevania. We got Castlevania Harmony of Dissonance. That I have beaten Harmony of Dissonance, have not beaten Circle of Moon. Just got started in Circle of Moon. Hopefully that's just as good as the Harmony of Dissonance. Here we got another classic NES series for the Game Boy Advance, Dr. Mario. It's a heck of a fun puzzle game similar to Tetris. You just act as though you're a doctor and you're trying to eradicate germs. You basically do that by lining up the correct colors of the pills on top of the colored germs. We got F-Zero racing game. This is a pretty tough game, as all F-Zero games are. It's a pretty good representation of what racing games can be on the console, though. After that, we got a side-scrolling beat-em-up, Final Fight 1. This game is pretty much so a copy of the Super Nintendo Final Fight. I do believe that you can play as the additional character named Guy in this game. Other than that, pretty much so looking at the same game as on the Super Nintendo. Here we got Mario Party Advance. Pretty much so, it's like every other Mario Party game. You can be playing those mini games, having a real good time, just real quick, fun type of games, not too serious. Here's one of the shining stars on the console, Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga. This is basically a carryover from like Mario RPG off of the Super NES. In this game, you play as Mario and Luigi. You go into battle sequences. It's kind of like a timed battle sequence, so you have to pay attention to what you're doing. If you repress the attack button at just the right moment, you can, let's just say, double your damage done to opponents. If you dodge your enemy's attack, you can reduce the amount of damage that your character will take and so forth. After that, we have Super Mario Kart here. This is probably the best racing game in my opinion on the console. You can't go wrong with a Mario Kart game. If you like Mario Kart at all, you're going to love it on the Game Boy Advance. Mario vs. Donkey Kong. This is my wife's game. I don't have a whole lot of experience with this one here. Here you got Zelda, A Link to the Past, and Four Swords. I believe that this cartridge has the original Super Nintendo version, which is pretty much so regarded as the best video game of all time. And there's also an additional game called Zelda Four Swords on it. So this is a 2-for-1 game. We did pick this one up recently. We got the manual with it, with cartridge, but without the box. So you can actually fit the manuals inside here if you're just a little careful. I'll open one up and show you what I mean. There we go. So you can see we just kind of have the manual laying in there. There's the cartridge. Real nice condition. Great game though. If you enjoyed the Super Nintendo Zelda, this is the way to play it on the go. If you want to play the Zelda Four Swords aspect of this game, you're going to need link cables, multiple copies of this game, multiple Game Boy Advances. It's pretty much so just reserved for big ballers. So if you're that big baller, I hope you have a good party doing that. Here we get into some Kirby games. Kirby is one of my favorite franchises next to Castlevania. Kirby and the Amazing Mirror is one of the highlights of the GBA. In this game, it's a little bit confusing. I just started playing it. Pretty much to call your buddies on a cell phone, you can have multiple Kirbys help you out with difficult parts of the stage. Here we got Kirby Nightmare in Dreamland. This game's awesome. I played it to its completion and I kept thinking, this game seems really, really familiar to me. It turned out after I beat it, I found out that it's a remake of the 8-bit NES game. It held my attention good enough though to play straight through it the whole time. If you guys like Kirby, you're going to love this game. Here we have one of the best RPGs on the console, Golden Sun. This is the original Golden Sun. There have been several other Golden Suns that came out after this one. This is the original. You're going to be dealing with all sorts of classic RPG battle sequences, gaining weapons, all that stuff. You'll love it. Here we got Yoshi's Island. This is basically a remake of the Super Nintendo Super Mario World 2, which was called Yoshi's Island. It's a very solid game. I do believe this is the one with the crying baby in it though, so be prepared to be annoyed. Here's an underrated game on the console, Wade Hickston's Counterpunch. This game is basically like Punch-Out or like Super Punch-Out. In this game you play as a boxer whose car broke down. You need to pretty much gain money, I believe, to get your car repaired. There's a lot of good humor in it. Like I said, it's an underrated game. If you come by it, pick it up. Here we got Super Mario World, Super Mario Advance 2. It's a mouthful. To summarize what this game is though, this is Super Mario World from the SNES put onto a Game Boy Advance. Another confusing title, Super Mario Advance 4, Super Mario Bros. 3. Don't pay attention to the Super Mario Advance 4 part, just the Mario Bros. 3. This is Mario 3 off the 8-bit. It's an awesome game, can't speak highly enough about it. Another game from the classic NES series that we touched on earlier in this video. This is the original Super Mario Bros. You can't get much more of a solid title than this. Here's another confusing game, Super Mario Advance. This, in fact, is Super Mario Bros. 2 for the 8-bit NES, just put onto a GBA. Up next we have an RPG from the company Atlas called Summon Night. I've heard good things about this game, however I haven't had time to play it yet myself. This is on the list of games to get to hopefully soon. Last in this little lineup, we got Sega Arcade Gallery. This is just a series of small games. You got racing, jet fighters, pretty basic stuff. I played it a little bit. It's a pretty solid game. I wouldn't go racing out to find it though. So there you have it. This is just my small selection of GBA games. This is the ones that we play on kind of a regular basis. My wife and I have our favorites out of here. I probably really like the Castlevanias. The Kirby's are good. I think that if you guys have your own games that you like that I didn't have here, let me know. I absolutely love the GBA. I think it's an underrated system. If you have any other questions, comments, leave them below. I'd love to hear from you guys. Stay tuned for more good content.